Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Diablo 2. Now, I've been playing this game since, I think, 2001 when it first came out. I think it's one of my favorite action RPGs, and I really don't get sick of playing it. When I first played it, it was completely unique. I hadn't played anything like it at the time, and it completely blew me away. It was so much fun leveling up your character and getting new loot and going from town to town and going into the dungeons. I'd never played anything quite like it before. I was still kind of new to RPGs, and I don't think I'd played any kinds of action RPGs, maybe the closest thing being Zelda, but this was super unique at the time for me. The way I found the game is kind of a fun story. My mom used to go over to her friend's house and she would take me along, and her friend had a kid around my age. He was a couple years older than me, and we would go down to, I think it was his basement, and he would show me games sometimes. And he was a nice guy. He would show me different games, and we would play together for a while. And one of the games he showed me was Diablo 2. I remember specifically in his save file, he was in Act 3 in the sewers, and he was fighting this sort of tentacle monsters that come out of the water. And I just remember being like, whoa, what is that? You know, like, this is so cool. And just watching his character. I don't remember what character he was playing, but, watching him like destroy the monsters and the demons and stuff. And I was like, I need this game. And I convinced my mom one day to take me to the store, and I picked out this game. And this was one of the few times in my life where I had to convince my mom to buy me a game. Because I remember she looked at like the cover of Diablo 2 here, and she was like, what is this weird stuff? Are you getting into weird stuff? And I tried to convince her, no, it's just a game. There's nothing weird going on. But she was kind of apprehensive about it at first, but she got it for me, and I just loved it. And this is not my original box. I had the original Diablo 2 box back in the day, and then when the expansion came out, I got the expansion box. But over the years, sadly, I got rid of a lot of my big PC boxes when I was kind of like a teenager, and I really regret it, but I do have this battle chest that came with Diablo 2, the expansion, and Diablo 1. So pretty cool still. I miss having my big box. I remember the fold-out cover. It had a scene in Act 2, and it showed different characters, and it showed them in the city and outside the city fighting. It was just so cool. And I was really close to rebuying the Diablo 2 box. Yeah, I really thought about it. I've actually rebought some PC boxes that I used to have in the past and got rid of, but it was kind of pricey, and I was like, I don't know, it's fine, I guess, but I do miss having that box. But yeah, it was a cool game, and my poor mom was worried that I was, I don't know, joining a cult or something. But yeah, we took it home, we installed it, and I started playing it, and I just loved it. Before the expansion came out, I played mostly Necromancer. That was my class of choice. I really liked it. I've always been a fan of sort of pet classes, characters in games that can have minions and pets and stuff. That was really cool. And when I was a kid, I was very honed in on something. Like when I liked something, I would just play that. So I played almost exclusively on Necromancer. Nowadays, when I go back, I still gravitate towards my favorite classes, but I tend to play different ones and try different things now. I'm a little bit more flexible on that. And then once the expansion came out, Lord of Destruction, I played completely exclusively Druid. I loved Druid. I liked it even more than Necromancer. I love the aesthetic of it, with the animals and the bear. The grizzly bear was like my favorite thing, and being able to turn into a werewolf or a werebear, that was super cool. I liked the nature magic. Just everything about Druid was like perfect for me. And yeah, now I play some of the different classes more. I really like Barbarian. Probably my favorite class outside of Druid and Necromancer now is Sorceress. I really like the magic. And I love the different elemental spells and stuff that she's got. But yeah, it's all really fun. I don't think there's a single class I really don't enjoy playing in the game. This was also one of the first games, if not the first game, I ever really played online with other people. Later on, I would play a couple of MMOs and stuff, including World of Warcraft, which I made a video about on this channel. But at the time, in 2001, playing online was pretty new to me. But yeah, I got on Battle.net and I would go online and play. And I remember Battle.net had like chat rooms and stuff, and you could chat with people online and get into a game or start a game and stuff. And I didn't really play with a ton of people, but I occasionally would go on Battle.net and like find a group to play with. I played once or twice with friends from school, but it was pretty rare. As I've mentioned before, I've never been a huge multiplayer person, but I remember one time, a little story of an online adventure I had where I remember there was a guy giving away a set of Druid armor, and I was playing Druid at the time. It was after the expansion came out, and it was, I believe it's called the Alder Druid set, and I didn't know what the set was for. I didn't know anything about stats or the meta of the game. I just liked the way it looked. I remember it had like the deer headpiece with the antlers, and I just thought it looked so cool, and I wanted it. And I went in, my character was super low level. I went into the game, and he was giving it away for free, and I was talking to him, and he told me that he'd give it to me, but I was too low level for it, so if I could level myself up, he would give it to me, like if I could do it quickly, right? I could ask around for somebody to like power level me or something. And I remember thinking, I don't know, that doesn't sound fun. And I told him I just wasn't really down to like skip over the game and power level. I wanted to like play the game slowly at my own pace. And I'm still this way, but it's just funny to think back on myself as, how old was I? Maybe like 13 or 14 at the time. I don't know. And telling him that, and I remember he said how he really liked my attitude about the game and stuff, and he actually just gave me the set, and I got to keep it. And eventually I leveled up enough that I could use it, and again, I really just liked the way it looked. I had no idea if it was like a good set or not, but it was just really nice interaction with a stranger online, and it was just really funny because even to this day, I've never really enjoyed the idea of like power leveling or like rushing through a game to get to like the end game or something. But it's just funny how even back then, all those years ago, I was still sort of the same way. But yeah, there's something about Diablo 2 that always keeps me coming back. Now at this point, I have played the other Diablo games. I went back and I played 1, I played 3, I played 4. And I think, they all have their pros and cons, I think. I hesitate to say that Diablo 2 is my favorite. It's definitely a contender. I really do like a lot of elements from 4 as well, although there are some things I find frustrating, like the always online stuff. But I think they did a good job with that one. I like the more modern feel of the game. It's nice, it's different. But then I always think Diablo 1, in my opinion, has the best atmosphere. It's just unrivaled to me in terms of atmosphere. And I think probably Diablo 3 is the weakest of the bunch, but I did find things to enjoy in that one. But yeah, 2, I don't know, it feels like a really, really solid package. There's not a lot I can really complain about that isn't just, the game's kind of old, And also, I think Diablo 2 has the best story by a wide margin, the best story and cutscenes. The story and cutscenes in this game, to me, are just legendary. They're fantastic. Fantastic. I also just really like the classes. I like the variety of classes in the game. It's probably why I also really like Diablo 4, because it's got a lot of the same classes. I do wish Diablo 4 had like a paladin style character, which, in Diablo 2 we have that, but I like the class aesthetics there a lot. Whereas in Diablo 3, I couldn't always get into the class aesthetics that they went with. I appreciate that they tried something new, but it just didn't sit as well with me. Although they added Necromancer, and I ended up playing that and really enjoying it. But yeah, there's something about 2 that always gets me coming back. I think partially it's that it just feels like a really nice package from beginning to end. And when you finish the game, you can go back into it in like Nightmare difficulty, which is harder. And then if you finish that, you can go into Hell difficulty, which is even harder. Now, I've tried playing those difficulties in the past and just failed miserably. But partially, it's just a lack of motivation, too. By the time I finish the game, I'm kind of good. I move on, play something else, usually. I'm not the type of person who will play one game for months or years at a time. I see a lot of this with modern games in particular, but maybe this was happening always. But I see people playing like Path of Exile or Diablo 4 or an MMO, and they like only play that game, or they primarily just play that game over and over. You've got the new structure with the seasons and stuff to kind of keep players coming back, and I just don't do that. So when I go back and I play Diablo 2, it's because I really want to play it. I want to see the story again. I want to go through the quests, level up a new character, and then when I'm done, I'm done. And playing through the game again in a higher difficulty is not really my favorite thing. That's one thing I'll say I kind of like better in like Diablo 4, because in that game I can make the game a little bit harder without having to play through the game first, right? And so I actually kind of prefer that kind of system because I don't tend to play the games that I play back to back. But I do still like the difficulty level on vanilla Diablo 2. I think is still good for my skill level. So I can't complain too much about that, but yeah, that would be one thing I would love to change in this game, is being able to adjust the difficulty a little bit more without having to play the game multiple times. Now, the game has 5 acts with the expansion pack, and I think they're all really good. Act 5 is probably my favorite. I think I really, really like Act 5. I like the vibes of it. I like everything about Act 5, honestly. I like the setting a lot, and the quests are really cool. I also just have a really strong soft spot for like Act 1 and 2 because I played those the most as a kid. It was really hard to get past Act 2 when I was a kid. Eventually I did, but it was tough. I also really like Act 3. It's very tough. I love the vibes of it though. Act 4 is probably the weakest of the bunch for me. It's just kind of short. I do like it though. Yeah, it was always really fun because at the end of each act, you get to watch a cutscene of the story, and I always looked forward to that. It always felt like a treat. Like, oh, I finally beat that hard boss, and now I'm treated to this awesome cutscene, because they really were awesome, and to me, they still are. I think it's some of the best storytelling I've seen in a video game, all wrapped up in like 20 minutes of cutscene. They don't take 300 hours to get to the point. The story isn't super convoluted. It's simple, but it's just told so well from the perspective of this character called Marius, who is this sort of tragic figure who can barely piece together his sanity after all the events that are unfolding. Yeah, the game is fantastic. I've got the strategy guide for it from way back in the day, and I've never really used it too much, but I like to flip through it and kind of read random things about the game and about Druid and Necromancer. It's just a lot of fun. I remember when I played on Battle.net, everybody always used these rings called the Stones of Jordan for like a currency. Like they would use that to trade instead of like gold or whatever. I never understood that. I still don't know what that was about to this day. I don't know. I guess it was like a rare item. But I still don't understand like what did people do with them? I don't know. But it was just a funny thing that I remember from the Battle.net days. Now, all of the footage from this video is going to be from Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is the version you can get on Battle.net now. And it's basically a remaster of Diablo 2. And let me say up front, I'm not usually somebody who likes remasters or remakes. I usually prefer the original thing, partially because of nostalgia. When I want to play a game, I want to feel like I did when I first played it. And so having a bunch of enhanced graphics or changes into the gameplay and stuff, it doesn't always do it for me. I'm usually okay with ports, but once you start getting into remaster, remake territory, I don't know. There's actually very, very few that I can think of that I like. This is an exception. Diablo 2 Resurrected, I think, might be my favorite remaster I have ever seen. It has everything pretty much improved, or if you don't like it, you can kind of change it back to the original state. You can change the graphics back to the original graphics. I love that feature. I wish more games that did remasters or remakes did that. I love it. But actually, the remastered graphics in-game, I think, look really good. I often find myself just kind of switching between them. I like them both. In particular, I like how the remastered is sort of 60 FPS, right? It's a little bit smoother, even though I've got a real sweet spot for the original graphics. But the new graphics look really good. They fit the tone of the game. They fit the world. Everything looks really good. They also improved the hotbar system and like the way you use your moves. I think it's better. I think it's smoother. It's really nice. And of course, the game works better in modern systems. If you play with the remastered graphics, you get widescreen, which is great. There's just a lot of benefits. It's the best remaster I've ever seen. And maybe the most important thing for me with this game, they kept all the original voice acting in the remaster. They didn't redo any of the voice acting. You can watch the cutscenes, and they still have the original voice acting. Now, the cutscenes are redone, but you can also switch back to the original cutscenes just like you can with the graphics. And this is important because this is the one thing I don't like in the remaster. The single thing, I think. I don't like the new cutscenes as much. And let me say right off the bat that I am not somebody who's super, super picky with these things. At least I like to think I'm not. I'm not looking at them and, saying like, oh, well, the lighting is a little bit different here, or oh, that chair wasn't there, it was over here, Not that. I don't like the way they show Marius. And I'll show both clips of the original and the remaster side by side here. I don't like the way Marius is animated in the new cutscenes. He looks too calm. He looks too sane. In the original cutscenes, he looks broken. He looks like he is losing his mind. He does not look good at all. He looks like a man who has seen so much trauma that he can barely keep it together. His animations, his facial expressions and his hand movements and the way he moves, it all sort of portrays that. In the new one, he just kind of looks like weak, and to me it doesn't work. And the voice actor does such a good job. It almost doesn't fit the new animations because they kept the original voices, and I don't know why they did that. It's really weird. And when I first played Remastered, I played with the remastered cutscenes because I wanted to watch them. I felt like something was off about them, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And it's really just the scenes with Marius that are a problem. Everything else kind of works fine, but yeah, I don't like that. So now I play with the original cutscenes on Resurrected, which, again, I think it's awesome that you can do that. But yeah, props to Resurrected, because even though they didn't get the cutscenes quite the way I wanted them, they still let you watch the original ones, and I think that's the best of both worlds, really. That's my only real big complaint of Resurrected. I think otherwise it's really, really good. I also bought it on the Switch, and it runs really well, and to me it was wild when I played it for the first time on Switch. The idea of playing Diablo 2 on a handheld console is so bizarre to me as somebody who grew up with, the game, and I grew up with consoles and PC gaming. Seeing this beloved PC game of mine from like 25 years ago in a handheld console is so bizarre to me, but it works really well. It's awesome. So cool. So personally, the version I would suggest is Diablo 2 Resurrected. Probably easier to get up and running on a modern PC and everything. If you're somebody who really likes to play with mods, that I don't know. I've never actually toyed around with mods on Diablo 2. I don't know if maybe the mod community is better on the original game versus Resurrected. For me, personally, I would recommend Diablo 2 Resurrected. I think it works great, and I think it keeps the spirit of the original game really, really well. You get some nice new features, and I don't think you're really missing anything, especially if you switch back to the original graphics and cutscenes. That's definitely the way to play for me. But I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Have you played Diablo 2? Do you plan to? Have you played Resurrected? And what do you think of it? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching.